Hello everyone, welcome back to First Line Therapy. I hope you guys have had a great week. I hope you've been enjoying our sessions. I hope maybe you've gotten the opportunity to practice some of the stuff that we've been talking about. So today, the topic that we're going to talk about is eating, exercise, energy, and metabolism. So we're going to try to talk about all that today. So we'll go ahead and dive right into our presentation today. So, these concepts kind of sit around the idea that food is fuel for energy, for your health, for your body's functions that it needs to do every day. The glycemic index is a good tool for balancing sugar and insulin. Physical activity is really important for maintaining healthy weights and our optimal health, and even for things not just keeping a healthy weight, exercise is important for. And there are some nutritional supplements you could use. I'm actually not going to talk a lot about nutritional supplements. I'm going to leave that up to whoever your primary care provider is, because there's a lot that goes into that discussion. There's a lot to consider to make sure something is safe, that something might be effective for you or not. So I might touch on some general points when thinking about taking vitamins and supplements as tools for your health, but I'm not going to recommend anything necessarily specific. So it is a good idea to ask whoever takes care of you, whoever your doctor, nurse practitioner, or physician's assistant is, what they recommend to help. Or maybe give you some tools of things that you should ask them about if it would help you. Food is fuel for energy. Food provides us energy for our everyday functions. So that comes from food is in macronutrients. You guys might remember back to a previous presentation, I think we were talking about nutrition label reading when we were talking about macronutrients and micronutrients. The macronutrients in food are the largest components. There are 3 of them: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. They're measured in grams. Might be getting ahead of myself here. So macronutrients, there are 3: protein, carbohydrates, fats. Examples of proteins, hopefully you guys maybe could give me some examples if I were to ask you from your nutrition plan. But proteins are going to be your meats, low-fat cheeses, protein powders, eggs, that kind of idea. Carbohydrates are going to be anything from fiber, which is really healthy, a complex carbohydrate like that's found in a lot of grains, even down to simple sugar, which is a carbohydrate. So carbohydrates can kind of go either way. Fats might be unhealthy, like saturated fats, or they might be good healthy fats that we need, like unsaturated fats. That again can be on the spectrum from not so great to great. Protein's just good. So at least we don't have to worry about protein. If something is a protein, it's good for you. There's no bad or good protein. But carbohydrates and fat can definitely be good for our health or detrimental for our health. So macro of course means large. It's measured in grams. Micronutrients are measured more in micrograms or milliequivalents. So really, really tiny. So energy is measured in calories. This is something we also talked about back with nutrition label reading. A calorie is just a unit of measurement for energy. Our bodies only need a certain amount of energy. It's called your basal metabolic rate. That we can determine from the body composition test that we do. So that's how you end up with a calorie goal. We look at your metabolic rate, how many calories your body is using to function right now. We move your calories up if you're using more energy, like when you exercise. Or we might reduce them a little bit if we want your body to use some of its stored energy. That would be fat. So just think of calories as energy, and our bodies only need a set point of energy. So we're trying to eat calories that hit that set point for how many we need, not over or under. Protein is 4 calories in a gram. A carbohydrate is 4 calories in a gram. Fat is 9 calories in a gram. This is something we talked about also with nutrition label reading. So protein's 4 calories in every gram. So this is an example. You can actually kind of, if you buy foods that don't have a nutrition label, but you want to know how many calories you're eating of it, you can actually weigh it and know how much it weighs in grams, and then figure it out for yourself now that you know these tools. So as an example, an egg white is about 4 grams of protein. And so if for every gram of protein you have 4 calories, so 4 calories in 4 grams, that's about 16 calories. Carbohydrates are also 4 calories per gram. So if an apple, 21 grams of carbohydrates, that's 21 grams, 4 calories in every gram, 21 times 4, that's about 84 calories. Fat is 9 calories per gram. So if you take a tablespoon of oil, that's about 14 grams, and it's 9 calories. 14 grams of oil for every 9 calories is 126 calories. So just as a quick comparison, you go back a slide and you take your apple, and your apple's about 84 calories. And then you look at your tablespoon of oil, and that's 126 calories. That's kind of a good mental imagery for how many more calories for a volume of food is fat, so significantly more than carbohydrates or proteins. So there are some, foods that are usually mostly macronutrient, but a lot of foods are actually a mixture. A lot of foods are mixtures of proteins, carbs and fat and protein. So just know that a food is not necessarily only one of the 3. Most foods are going to be a combination of the 3. So in trying to know, what's this food made of? What should it count as? Fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates, but I want you to remember that we said that carbohydrates can be healthy for us, like fiber. So fruits and vegetables have a lot of fiber. Fiber is an excellent carbohydrate. It makes your heart healthier. It is probably, we think, can reduce your risk of colon cancer, eating more fiber in your diet. So that's great in fruits and vegetables. And fruits also have some little simple sugars in them, which is carbohydrates also, but it's not excessive. So they are carbohydrates, but fruits and vegetables are mostly fiber, which is a great carbohydrate source. Dairy foods, meats, those are usually predominantly protein, but they're protein and fat. So when you're picking meats, we've talked about choosing meats that have less fat in them. Meats are a combination of proteins and fats. Beans are made of proteins and carbohydrates. They hardly have any fat in them. So that's going to be a lot of protein, a lot of carbohydrates. Again, those carbohydrates are really healthy for you. They are mostly fiber and those carbs. And then things like oil and butter are pure fat. They don't have any other carbohydrate in them, macronutrient in them. They're just fat of those 3. So, you guys might remember, you might know some trendy diets, things that go around. Through the years, we've went from eating, high carbs, low fat. Now people might eat plenty of fat, and they're eating hardly any carbohydrates. That's the ketogenic diet, if you've heard of that. So the science of it, we haven't always had all the data we've had now. We're kind of in a good place now where we've just been adding up all this data that we've gotten over the many decades of trying to figure out what diet is healthiest for us. And now we can kind of assemble everything we have together to come up with the best plan. But the ideology has definitely swung back and forth between what's healthiest. So with carbohydrates, what's important is the quality, but also the quantity of them. So, I don't know if you've heard me say that you can overeat healthy foods. The two healthiest healthy foods that people commonly overeat are fat and carbohydrates. And I'm talking about carbohydrates like that are in breads and pastas and rice and cereal, grain carbohydrates. So you want to choose, number one, good quality carbohydrates. Good quality carbohydrates are whole grains, fiber, and vegetables. So you're wanting to choose good quality, not like your white bread or, white rice. Not simple pasta, whole grain pasta, but also be careful of the quantity. So even if you pick a high quality carbohydrate, you still need to eat the appropriate quantity. So just reference your nutrition plan again and think about how much of that food you're supposed to be eating. So metabolic balance or glycemic balance is the idea of keeping your insulin and your sugar and your body's needs all balanced out. So eating good quality carbohydrates is going to help you maintain your metabolic balance. So eating the appropriate amounts of all those macronutrients helps keep that sugar real steady, keeps your insulin release real steady, and is better for you overall. So we want a good balance. We don't want you eating a diet that's mostly carbs or eating a diet that's mostly fat. And everything balanced is important, right? So metabolic imbalance, this usually happens when we're consuming more calories than our bodies need. So we're having too much extra calories, too much extra energy that our bodies can use up. So that energy has to go somewhere. That's, a law of physics. The energy has to go somewhere. So the energy becomes stored in our fat cells, usually belly fat. So a lot of times people wonder, just over the course of the, last few years, I've put on so much more belly fat. And the reason is that you're getting insulin resistant and that extra calories is being stored. And that's where it's stored. It stores around your organs, not just where you can see it on the outside of your body. So this results in insulin resistant, where your body's cells actually becomes resistant or desensitized to your body's own insulin, and you can't make use of that sugar. So you're fatigued and tired, but still storing up, having high blood sugars and storing fat. So that's how type 2 diabetes develops. This is sometimes people told they're pre-diabetic. Pre-diabetic means insulin resistance. So conditions that go along with that are heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity. Sarcopenia is actually, as you get older, you lose your muscle mass. That's what sarcopenia is. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. So these are not good things. So we want to keep our body sensitive to its insulin. So how you can achieve that is consume the optimal amount of calories that you need for your metabolic balance. And that's what's on your nutrition plans. That's what our body composition tests. Continually eating highly refined or simple carbohydrates results in that problem also. That means sugar, so diets that have a lot of sugar in them, eating a lot of sweets, drinking soda, lots of white bread, poor quality carbohydrates, that equals those problems. What you can do is eat fiber-rich carbohydrates in moderate amounts. That's kind of the same idea we've talked about. So every food has what's called a glycemic index. So a glycemic index is, how much energy does a food turn into? So high glycemic foods turns into a lot of calories. Low glycemic index foods means not too many calories. So we usually like to eat lots of foods that are low glycemic index. So the nutrition plans that you guys get, the food categories are a Mediterranean diet, high in healthy fat, high in proteins, low in bad fats, low in inflammatory producing foods, but they're also low glycemic index Mediterranean plan, meaning that those foods don't equal too many calories that our body can use. So that's why it's a great plan if you're diabetic. So the more rapidly a food is absorbed into the bloodstream, the higher your blood sugar, and when your blood sugar increases, that's when you but what goes up must come down. So if you eat something like you drink a Coke and your sugar spikes, then your insulin spikes, and you have way more insulin than you should have floating around. It munches up all that sugar, or is trying to, and then you crash. So then it's low, and you feel so poorly. You know, that kind of is that idea with diabetes, that you can have sugars that are too high and you can have sugars that are too low. So choose foods that are lower on the glycemic index. That's going to help you control your blood sugar, control your insulin release, keep it very steady, and you're going to have much better overall metabolic balance. So we want your blood sugar to equal your insulin. We want to keep that real balanced and steady. So these are just some ideas that you can use. Of course, I encourage you to look at your nutrition plan. Keep that nutrition plan, keep it on your fridge, snap a picture of it on your phone to be with you on the go, in your purse. That is, where you're going to see how many of each type of food you're supposed to eat, and how to choose low glycemic index foods. So these are some good general tips here we can use to make sure we're choosing foods that are going to be are really balanced. So if you're looking at your plate, half of your plate at least should be vegetables. A quarter of your plate should be a protein, and then only a quarter of the plate should equal a whole. So when you're thinking of your plate, it shouldn't be half macaroni and cheese and half chicken. It should be, half of salad greens, or half of, green beans and, a tomato salad, and then a quarter of it be a protein, and then a quarter of it be a whole grain, like rice or quinoa or a whole grain pasta, something like that. So what's another way we can maintain our metabolic balance? That is exercise and activity. So regular physical activity is so important. It will reduce your blood sugar. If you ever are checking your sugars and your sugar is high, go take you a good walk. You can probably get your sugar just with some exercise instead of needing to increase your insulin dose. Just try it and see. That's how your body can eat up some of that excess sugar. So it's going to burn up calories that you're eating, but if you're eating your metabolic rate and then you're active on top of that, it can help you also use up some of your stored energy if you're not eating too many calories, and help reduce your weight. So we have 30 minutes more days of the week than you don't. And you can totally do aerobic activity like walking or running or getting on the elliptical, swim, or running around with your children or your grandchildren in the yard, walking your dog. Or also you can do weight-bearing activity. So like activities that work on your muscles. Those help use sugar too, not just the cardio exercises. So that's like working out with an exercise band, body weight exercises like push-ups or sit-ups. They're both important and both work for you. So this is kind of diving into the nutritional supplements you can use. You might make a note of these and ask if you should be your next appointment that you have. One is chromium. There's some evidence that supports chromium, that it increases your insulin sensitivity. EPA and DHA are your fish oil. Fish oil is safe and important for everyone to take. I'll just make that blanket statement. As far as chromium and the lipoic acid go, ask your healthcare provider, but everybody's safe and should. So chromium, some of your insulin transport, can help you use up some of your glucose as energy. EPA and DHA, those are essential fatty acids, and you need those functions. It can lower your insulin resistance, improves your metabolic balance. There are lots of studies on healthy fats like fish oil and inflammation, where health problems are related to inflammatory responses. Diabetes has inflammation as part of it. Heart disease now has an inflammatory component to it. There are so many health problems that we're seeing inflammation. Pain problems, are usually inflammation driven, or inflammation contributes to them. So you can actually help reduce some of your inflammation by eating a good amount of healthy fats. And another thing that fish oil is good for, we have good evidence for, is your mental health. They're actually fat channels. Fats are how your neurochemicals are distributed and how they get your brain. So mood problems, they've studied this even in people with schizophrenia, that fish oil can some of those problems too. So can't go wrong. I have never come across anything that would say that fish oil is a bad idea. Lipoic acid is an antioxidant. You need lots of antioxidants in your diet. This helps repair toxic damage to our cells. You can eat a lot of antioxidants, though predominantly in fruits and vegetables, green tea, and dark chocolate, like dark cocoa powder. Those are some good, easily accessible sources of antioxidants. And usually a color of a food indicates the antioxidant that it contains. You need all the different types, so try to eat lots of different colors of fruits and vegetables for your antioxidant sources. So just, to kind of summarize, have regularly, make sure you're eating your metabolic rate, calorie requirement, eat good quality foods, and all these are going to promote your ability to maintain your metabolism and have your body functioning at its best. So that's going to help you to manage the chronic diseases you might already be experiencing. Sometimes I've seen people reverse their chronic diseases by doing these things, not needing medications anymore. And it's also going to help you have a good quality of life for a long time. So it's going to keep you from developing those chronic diseases if you maintain your metabolic balance now. So that's the information that I have to share today. I look forward to any questions that you think of, any comments you have for me. So thank you very much.